Good evening, everybody. It is September the 20th at 6 p.m. on the dot. I'm live in council chambers with Councillor Abbott. Councillor Abbott and Councillor Cunliffe. Councillor Bain is virtual. And with us here are the executive staff team being CAO DeJong, CFO Rook, and Municipal Coordinator Brooke. And I'll put forward the motion to call the meeting to order. And this will be about the closed agenda, which begins now. The proposed topics for discussion in the absence of the public are consideration of legal matters, and the second one is consideration of enforcement matters. I can go through the reading of the community charter, but I'll just hit the sections. It's section 91, D, F, G, I, and N. Council anticipates reconvening the open meeting to discuss the balance of the agenda afterwards. If those reasons to go into close are acceptable, Councillor Cunliffe, can you please put forward the motion?
I put forth the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Abbott.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, yes. Opposed, no.
Yeah.
Yes, carried. Thank you. And we'll say goodbye to the public, and we'll see you at 7. The public's gone, Linda. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. It is Tuesday, September the 20th at 7, actually it's 6:59, 7 o'clock. And welcome everybody. With us in chambers are Councillor Abbott and Councillor Cunliffe. Virtually are Councillor Barmier and Councillor Bain. Here with me in chambers are CAO DeJong, CFO Rook, and Municipal Coordinator Rick. And I see we've got a gallery. Council has just come back from the in-camera session of the meeting, which was closed, moving back to the open. I have 2 items to report out. And the first is that Council dealt with the Freedom of Information request and agreed that the information could be released to the requesting party. The second item is that Council supported Dr. Banta, who lives at 51 Brunswick Road, with respect to his foretour application to Flint County, BC. We're back to the adoption of the agenda. We'll put that forward. Councillor Abbott, will you second me?
Second.
There you go. Any changes, amendments, deletions to the virtual councillors? Do you have any?
No, thanks, Ron.
Thank you. And Councillor Bain will take that as a no. Before I go back to my colleagues here in section, I would add item number 10B, which is the staff report. And the topic would be any and all legal action involving the village. Councillor Abbott, anything else to add, delete? No. Councillor Cunliffe?
Yeah.
Call the motion, and all those in favor of the amended agenda, please confirm by saying yes. No.
Yes. Yes.
Good, covered. Thank you very much. And we go to the public participation. I see we've got some members of the gallery. If you've got like to come forward, you don't have to put your video on. If you'd like to unmute and just give us a second in case a couple of people do it at the same time, I'll select one. I'm just looking at my screen left to right. So if somebody would like to come forward, please do so now. Otherwise, we'll move on.
The Swiss could get his hand up.
Michael Broughton.
Mr. Broughton, you have the floor for 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. I've been looking at very seriously at the official community plan, and it has a tremendous amount of wisdom in it. And one of the first comments is that there's a strong sense of self-governance in the village of Lions Bay. And on page 11, it talks about the council must meet as its responsibility in governments. And I quote page 11, the community expects its council to listen to the views of its residents and to act in the best interest of the overall community, undertaking full, open, and transparent discussion of all issues. I'm a bit concerned that the village has been, committing to large expenditures and contracts, or potentially could be doing so without meaningful consultation. And to do so would not be appropriate. So I'm thinking that in two particular examples, the first would be the park plan it's been very difficult to access information regarding the park plan. The May 20th mayor's report was the link was missing, and once it was
Mr. Broughton, you've got 30 seconds. Could you ask a question?
okay. The question would be that will council postpone any significant decisions and until following the election on October the 15th?
Thank you very much. I believe for me, my perspective.
Would be regarding both commitments regarding the Lions Bay connector and any major expenditures actually over the next several weeks, regarding the park plan, regarding the Lions Bay connector and others. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. I believe we're going to be talking about the park later on. And so I would presume that will satisfy that. As the connector, you would know from previous reporting out that this is going to be a community-led participation as to where it goes forward or not. And I think we have approved a small amount of money for it to come forward in a way that the residents can see what it is that they're being asked to opine on. So I think
Understanding is that $49,000 has been set aside for that.
no, it's not $49,000.
Well, that the minutes indicate that 49,000 and 12,500 is, been released at this point, which is not a small amount of money for the village on a project which.
Well, I'm not going to argue with you, Mr. Broughton, but the reality is we can't talk about a project without showing the villagers what the project is. So thank you for your question. I think there'll be more about this, and I look forward to seeing some of this in the forthcoming weeks. We've got time for 2 more questions, but first one will be Ms. Jeffrey and then Mr. Sredsky. Sorry, Karen, you've got the floor.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. And again, you don't have to show your video, but we can hear you clearly.
Okay. I don't mind showing my video. Happy to do that. Hi, I've had better days. This is just really a comment and an observation and a request that moving forward, and I know that everyone's working as hard as they can, especially right now, but I would just like a little bit more care taken when correspondence is going out from the village office to make sure that the village hall is actually referred to as Broughton Hall. I think it's really important, not only to our history, but also moving forward into new people coming in. I'm sure it was just an oversight, but people do actually notice that, and it's called Broughton Hall. And I would like to, just as a citizen, just request, it was a big honor and a naming of the hall. And so if we could actually make a concerted effort when correspondence goes out to have it referred to as Broughton Hall. That's just my request. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Karen. It's a good point, and I know that staff's aware of it now. Thank you. And Mr. Sredsky, and then I think we've got time for Mr. Berry, and then we'll close off.
Good evening. We asked the council move motion to remove the park report from today's agenda and the park report to be placed onto a newly elected council.
Mr. Sredsky, we heard the first sentence you said, and then it stopped after that. We'll start the timer again. If you could address this again.
Thank you. We ask the council move motion to remove the park report from today's agenda and the park report to be placed on a new elected council agenda. It is unusual to have this item on agenda with community input during the municipal election. This matter should not come forward into the council agenda today. No decision on or report receipt should come forward during the municipal election. It falls outside the interest of the community and would represent notably poor judgment on the part of the council. My second question request is regarding to a Canadian candidates meeting. The administration proposed mediator background experience profile offers little confidence that this will be this individual has moderated in the past and has abilities. We have local citizens who are AV professionals who have and can volunteer their experience to the event to provide enhanced community approachability and saving us some money. If needed, the current bylaw can be relaxed by the candidates' agreement. It's not a big deal. Has the budget spent been pre-approved by the council? And what is the cost? That is my question. Second question or request. Also, I would like to point out
Thank you very much, Mr. Skredzki. Your time is over. So the two questions were suspension of the Lions Bay Beach Park, and the second one was with respect to costs surrounding the all candidates and meeting and also the general election. So I think on that one, I know the answer, but we'll defer to staff on this one. Well, actually, I'll deal with the first one, the beach park. The agenda's been approved and it's on the agenda. As to the all candidates meeting expenditures, either one of the staff can answer this one.
Was the question about the expenditure?
Mr. Skredzki asked what it was,
Okay.
which was approved by council.
Was it approved or you're just making it up?
Thank you.
No.
That comment, it was approved in the budget.
We have a budget, we have a budget of $15,000 for the election, and we're staying well within that limit at this time.
And we
Thank you
can
very
have somebody local, of course.
Thank you very much, Mr. Skredzki. We're getting close to the 10-minute time. And so, Ms. Jeffrey, if you could put your hand down. Next up was, I believe we've got time for one more, which is Mr. Berry. And if you could, you don't have to use your video if you choose, but you can put your hand down and you have the floor, Mr. Berry.
I think I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine. Thank
Okay.
you.
I'd just like to reiterate what other villagers and candidates have said. I think it's important that we don't enter into any contracts at this late stage, right before an election. So I would encourage you to hit the pause button on any major expenditures until after the election. And I just would like that on record. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Berry. That was
I put forward a request or a resolution. If we have to, there's 3 more hands up. Can we afford 6 more minutes and let each person speak?
I'm fine with continuing.
Okay.
Just gotta let me run the meeting here.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you very much. So I think if I've got this right, there were 3 and we'll cap it at 3. So I'm going left to right, which is what I thought was hands up first. So the first one would be Mr. Berry, if you could put your hand down. We'll have the Lund family as first up, then followed by Mr. Reuter and then Ms. Ledger. And if you could be concise, 2 minutes, and we'll extend our meeting for that. So the Lund family, you have the floor. Again, you don't have to do your video, but if you put your hand down and turn your audio, your audio on.
Yeah, it's Carl Lund here. Ron, you touched briefly on the closed meeting of today regarding a foreshore agreement for Greg Banta. This is something that I believe all neighbors should be involved in, especially us, the most affected party. There's been too many decisions made behind closed doors that affect us and our property value. And this should be open to all neighbors, especially us.
Thank you very much for your comment, Mr. Lund. Next one, Mr. Reuter, and then Ms. Ledger.
Great, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Yeah, I've just got a simple housekeeping matter. I'd like to ask that the minutes contained in your package referring to the August 3rd council meeting, which I think you'll find on page 18 of tonight's package, be amended to correctly reflect what I said on that day. What the minutes state are, let's see here, where are they? They, well, refer to page 18 there.
Mr. Reuter, just hang on for a second while we're flipping here.
Yeah.
And we'll just stop the clock for you. It's a housekeeping matter if I've got this right, so let's get it right. So it's page 18 of our package, is that correct, sir?
That is correct. Yeah, page 18 of the minutes for the August 3rd meeting and what I said in that meeting. Yeah.
So I'm looking at page 18. What would you like amended?
So what it says is that I commented on the OCP amendment process and commented on the presentation by staff to the Metro Board. That is not in fact what I said. What I asked on that day is whether council had given approval that our administrator stand up at the Metro Board meeting on July 29th and argue for the removal of the conditionality that the Metro Regional Planning Committee had required of Lions Bay in its July 8th meeting, the conditionality that we remain true to our desired rural status. That's what I said. It's visible in the video, and I'd like the minutes to reflect that, please.
Okay. First thing I'm going to comment is that the minutes are not answered. That is, every word is not recorded exactly as it was said. So I'll defer to the municipal coordinator on this. As to amendment, I'm working with council as to this. And what is the point here?
It is correct. Minutes are generally a summary of what would have been said, just a high level summary that comments were made and what those comments reflected.
Yeah, I would just point out that they're not accurate in that, although in a general terms, I was commenting on the OCP amendment process. What I was specifically asking are the things that I just stated to you. And I was asking whether council had given approval that our CAO make this argument for the removal of the conditionality on that day. That is what I said.
Thank you very much. And when we come to the minutes, we'll address that. Thank you very much, Mr. Reuter.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Leiter, you can put your hand down and you can choose to use your video or not, but you have the floor for 2 minutes.
I'm not going to use my video because my bandwidth, for some reason, I'm using cell data, so it's not picking it up. I would like to echo those that have urged for a pencils down on any contract signings prior to the upcoming election, since current incumbents, mayor and council are all up for re-election, or up for election actually, or standing again. And there's a full slate running against you. So I really think that this is an election issue. And these are big ticket items. These aren't small items, and you're planning to put, you've sat on it for 6 years, honestly, and I don't think that another month of delay will do any harm at this point. And your community is really watching you, and we're trying to watch our pennies as well. And I really would encourage you to do the right thing here and just wait another month until the first count, postpone the decision to the first council meeting following the election, if you will. But really, tonight is not an appropriate time to make such a decision.
Thank you very much.
Especially as your last regular council meeting prior to running for re-election. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments, and thank you everybody for coming forward in the gallery. We'll conclude that part of the public participation. There is no public delegation, and we are on to the item number 7, which is review and approval of minutes of prior meetings. And that is the meeting of July 26th. Councillor Abbott, would you put forward that the regular council meeting minutes of July 26th be approved as circulated?
I'll put that forward.
Thank you. Councillor Cunliffe for your second.
Second.
Council, any changes, amendments, deletions?
I have none.
None for me.
Okay, none from Councillor Cunliffe. There being none, call a motion. All those in favor, please confirm by saying yes.
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 Carried. Thank you. Next one is the special meeting of July the 12th. Councillor Bain, will you put forward that the special council meeting minutes of July the 12th be approved as circulated?
No, July 12th.
August 3rd.
I've got July 12th in my package.
You shouldn't.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I stand corrected. That should have been deleted. Oh, hang on for a second. No, we're checking. Okay.
It's just convening the meeting and going into closed is all it is.
Okay.
So it really wouldn't matter either way.
Okay.
Good. Councillor Evans, will you put that forward?
Sure.
Councillor Cunliffe, will you second?
Second.
Any changes, amendments, deletions?
None.
None. Good. Thank you. There being none, all in favor, please confirm by saying yes. Opposed, no.
Yes.
Good, carried.
Let's skip over the July 26th.
No, we did this one.
Good, just a second.
July 26th, July 26th.
Sorry.
It's July 26th.
My apologies.
Thank you. We've done July 26th, we've done 12, August 3rd in front of us, I believe. Would that be correct, Municipal Coordinator?
Yes, that's right.
Thank you. Back to this. And this is the special council meeting of August 3rd, that the special council meeting minutes of August 3rd be approved as circulated. Councilor Boromir, would you put that forward?
Yes.
Councilor Bain, will you second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion, changes, amendments, deletions?
Are we gonna allow Mr. Roy to change? I would put forward that we do.
You would recognize, Councilor Abbott, that putting it forward actually his Hansard type minutes encompass more than the rest of the minutes.
I think we could succinctly put the question that he actually asked without any follow-up discussion, because he specifically asked the question. Why does it not seem reasonable to have the question he asked recorded in the minutes?
Right, Councilor Cunliffe?
Yep.
As put forward by Mr. Ritter?
Certainly, sure.
Good. I'm in favor of that as well. Any further discussion? Follow the motion. All those in favor of the minutes as amended, please confirm by saying yes, opposed no.
Yes.
Carried, thank you. All right, next piece up is business arising from the minutes. I have none. I'll go virtually first. Councilor Barnard, Councilor Bain, anything arising that you want to bring up on any of those meetings?
No. Thanks.
Nope. To the councilors here, anything?
No.
Thank you. None. Unfinished business. If I can go through this quickly, the CN vegetation program, CAO DeJong, anything there?
No.
Thank you. BC timber sales completed. I can tell while I haven't circulated this to the community. I will, that would be because it came during the summer and I should have put this forward. The province has responded to us and they will not be doing any spraying. I'll put forward that for the next meeting agenda, so we can see that. And that would be because of my overture to Metro Vancouver to act on our behalf. And they did. And the province, what a surprise, responded to Metro Vancouver in the positive. Thank you. So we'll call that completed. That can be deleted, but coordinator, Rick, could you remind me to send that so it's into the next correspondence session? Municipal financial comparisons, CFO to provide a report. I don't think you were anticipating doing it for the next month or two.
Yeah, hopefully in November.
In November, thank you very much. Let's keep that on. Last one, highway maintenance, public works manager. Any news from Modi?
I think where that's.
Sorry, nothing yet.
And when are we speaking to Modi?
I think we're waiting for Cap Highways to do their assessment, but
Yeah, I can reach out to them again. But yeah, CEO DeJong is right. We're waiting for Modi and Cap Highways to do their condition assessment of the highway.
Thank you very much. It would be nice if we could get an update at the next meeting on October the 4th. Thank you very much, both the CAO and Public Works Manager. Next item, reports, item 10A. And this is from the Public Works Manager. And the topic is BC Mountain Foundation proposal for outhouse on Prickard, which is the Lions Trail. And the recommendation is that council provide direction to staff with respect to the issues outlined in this report. Councillor Abbott, I know this is dear to your heart. Would you put that forward?
I will.
Councillor Bain, will you second Councillor Abbott?
Second.
Thank you. Staff, if you can give us a report on that.
Yeah, essentially the BC Mountain Foundation would like to install a composting outhouse, a urine diversion outhouse on the Lions Trail at the junction where the branch goes to Tunnel Bluff and the other goes up to the Lions Peaks. They also are planning to rehabilitate the trail, which is deteriorated over time due to nature and the amount of pedestrian use. From a staff's perspective, the installation of an outhouse is another step to try and mitigate the open defecation and cat holes that are going on along that trail in our watershed.
Thank you. Although the piece here is that that there's a recommendation here from staff. Councillor Abbott, any comments? I'll go around live to virtual in a second.
Sure, I have got a lot of comments on this, to be honest. So first of all, and I have discussed it with many people in the community, including representative of SAR. So I have got some information and opinions from others as part of what I'm about to say. I think the first thing is, I think there's two issues in this report that need to be separated. I think the issue of the outhouse is what we should be discussing tonight and resolving how to go forward on. But embedded in the report, there's several other suggestions from Mountain Federation about improving trails in general, about improving the Lions Trail. I think these are separate issues. Someone told me, the Mountain Club have wanted to do this for years. They wanted to improve those trails. I think it's going to attract more people. There was a suggestion that, keeping the trails somewhat difficult or less comfortable to walk on is somewhat self-regulating. And I think the last thing we really want to do is turn the Lions Trail into a sort of grass grind type trail, and we now end up with tunnel bluffs ×2. So that's a real concern of mine. I think we can separate those two issues. I'm comfortable going ahead on the discussion on the composting toilet.
If I can ask you, Councillor Abbott, I'm referring to page 23, and I think everybody could take a second to go there.
To the resolution?
I think that, as you point out, two pieces, and we'll go with you. The first one, as you say, was the actual outhouse, and the second was improving the trails in general. So, given the options to desire, number 1A encompasses both, as does B. Are you suggesting that anything with reference to trails is excluded?
I think we should at this stage deal only with the outhouse, and I think we need some further input and further discussion on whether we want to do more work to improve the trails past the outhouse.
I'm all about the motion and recommendation. Do you have one in your mind?
No, but I think Peter's going to try to help me.
Well, okay, so just to recap, the council provide direction. So this is the direction. The recommendation is one.
So
get a few more other perspectives.
I think that it's important to recognize that we're talking about a couple of things. One is gate access. If we don't provide coordination of gate access, they can obtain gate access directly from the government. It's not something that we can prohibit or restrict access to parties that have been given grant funding to do work on Crown lands. So I think we have to bear that in mind. It's not a case of us cooperating on doing the actual maintenance or assisting with the maintenance or helping to improve the road portions or any part of the trail. It's simply a case of us acknowledging that we can coordinate gate access. In the short term, I imagine most of that will involve coordinating gate access for the installation, the UDT outhouse. I think that the other aspects that they're talking about are probably a little bit further off in terms of when they can be accomplished and where their funding is coming from. But I don't think that we're being asked to contribute to that at this point in time. So really all we're talking about is access for those who are entitled to have access that we can't really restrict. I think that what you're getting at, Councillor Abbott, is something that I'm trying to get at and the Public Works Manager in respect of the second paragraph and talking about conversations with Recreation Sites and Trails BC in particular about those kinds of issues. We need to engage with a wide variety of stakeholders in the watershed in respect of the source water protection plan that we need to get going on. So that's going to mean RSTBC, it's going to mean Ministry of Forests, it's going to mean forestry companies that have tenures. There's one for sure. And it's you know, hiking groups, other people that are in our watershed. That will involve a lot of stakeholder conversations. And I think that that is the place where we can put across the points that, hey, this is our watershed, this is our source waters for potable water, and we're very concerned about the direction this is going, and to put forward arguments and suggestions about not improving the trail in order that it be more self-regulating. I guess there's two sides to that coin too, in terms of resources that are required of SAR as a result of that. But I think that that's where that conversation needs to go. I think you're right to separate out the outhouse aspect of it separately as well. And hopefully council is supportive of that. So maybe I'll just stop right there.
Okay, so on that assumption, we can keep those as separate issues and the Mountain Federation come back to us, hear our side before they do anything further. I'll just pass my comments on the outhouse and thoughts I've had. And as I said, I have spoken to some people.
Neville, in these conversations, are you thinking about our filtration avoidance commitment and the consequences of not being able to maintain or meet that obligation?
I'm completely aware of our filtration avoidance, and I think that's what Peter was talking to earlier. I wouldn't like to approach this from a fear-mongering kind of point of view that we have to comply with everything or someone's going to hold us up in our filtration avoidance. I think that can be dealt with as many stakeholders as you said, and we can deal with it at that time. The actual outhouse location and what that might mean to filtration avoidance, it would seem that the outhouse, from what I've heard from the people I've got from most people, is having an outhouse would benefit us generally than having the uncontrolled situation that's going on now. And I believe the inspectors have said the same point. So I have heard that from people, but that's kind of where I think the balance of people are thinking. What I did want to comment just quickly, and I know there's a lot of people that want to talk, and I'm trying to move it on, is I have owned a non-powered, non-mechanical composting toilet at a cabin. These things are, and what granted, it wasn't a separation, unit separation one. But we dealt with that because it's a private location. We didn't clean the toilet, we peed in the bush. So I know how these things work. They are very sensitive to not being treated properly. They get into an upset condition really easily. Now I understand this, and I've looked at the locations and spoke to people about the locations these have been used. None of them come close to having 1,000 hikers a week walk by them. None of them come close to that. They're all in remote locations. They're all in situations where you've got serious hikers going up to them. I couldn't find in any of the research we're given anyone that had anything vaguely close to the numbers we're going to go. I think we've grossly underestimated what the maintenance of this is going to be. I don't think we could put enough toilet paper up there in 2 weeks alone. Never mind, the question is, how often do we service a porta potty? Well, these toilets are going to be serviced as often, if not more. I think we've grossly underestimated that.
Thank you. Councillor Rabbit, I'm going to stop you here, but I'm going to come back to you if that's fine.
Sure.
I think you're on a streak here, but I'd like to give Councillor Bain a second.
Okay.
And then I'll come back to you. Councillor Rabbit, Councillor Bain, you've got your hand up. Do you have a comment?
Yeah, I do. I've got two that are kind of related. The first one, of course, the primary concern I think we have is the protection of the watershed. The UTDs and everything, the location of them is going to be critical, so that there's no chance of any leaching going into the absorption area for our water. So I'm very concerned about that. The other thing I'm thinking of is about the trail, and I disagree with Councillor Abbott to some degree on this, that they're separate, is that if they're going to have a maintenance, monthly maintenance on these UTDs, the estimate in the report says it's a half hour per UTD. Well, if they're going to be able to go up 2 kilometers to service one of these things, I suggest they're probably going to have to go up with a truck. And if they're going to go up with a truck, the trail is going to have to be widened to allow vehicles as opposed to foot traffic only. So I think the estimate on the amount of time it'll take if they don't widen the thing would be well in excess. Anyhow, I'll leave it at that.
Right, can I just respond to it directly to that only? So really a couple of things there. One, well, the report is talking about widening the trail past where we're going to put this composting toilet. It's talking about creating greater access all the way up the lines and making all our trails far more accessible.
My apologies, if I could just, yeah, so the report doesn't talk about widening the trail at all. It talks about rehabilitating the existing trail from the junction up to the point of the UDT. It's accessible by 4x4. The rehabilitation work would be beyond that, and they're not talking about widening it. They're just talking about rehabilitating it. Sorry, Councillor Abbott.
Okay, Councillor Abbott.
Clarify that. Carry on, you were going somewhere else.
Nope, it's all yours.
Back to me. There's a few other things that came in this report that I found interesting and things that might wondering what one we're going to consider. Page 24 talks about a reservation system. Oh, sorry, one thing, I just need to go back on the numbers of those hikers. If everyone's looking at the two tables, report from last year where we had the cameras in the wrong positions, you should ignore that because it was counting residents and assuming they've gone up the trail. The second part of the report, the numbers from now seem to be accurate. We moved the cameras, the counters to the right locations, and that's where I'm getting numbers from. 1,000 hikers a week, which is a significant number. But 90% of them are going to Tunnel Bluffs, right? So currently the current situation, serious hikers going up to Sunset are going up from the Sunset side up to climb the Lions. Those are not an issue. Those people have been doing that for years. We shouldn't really put any emphasis on where we want to locate things based on anything other than the problem, which is the Tunnel Bluffs hikers, which are the less serious hikers. The reservation system is interesting. I wonder when that's going to come back to council. I mentioned on page 24. And yeah, I'll leave it at that and hear from others because I don't want to go on much longer.
Thank you very much, Councillor Abbott. So I think the clear piece is 2 points. One is, and I guess we can all take UDT home and surprise our spouses what that acronym means. So it's about the actual of the toilet itself for the outhouse, and the second one is about the trail system. Would that encapsulate your point in brief?
Sure.
Okay, if we split the two, why don't we go with the first one? Councillor Cunliffe, I'm going to go up and down. Are you in favor of moving with the toilet?
Sorry, Peter, did you want to?
Peter?
Sorry, I just wanted to ask the Public Works Manager to provide one point of clarification, and that is that the trail data that you see in the report has been provided to the BCMF person. Is that correct, Nye? So that they're aware of the volumes of people in terms of the capacity of the outhouse?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Back to you, Councillor Cunliffe.
But sorry, no, to that point, they've said they've used this kind of toilet in a location that has that volume of people, because none of the examples shown came vaguely close.
Yeah, so this toilet system from Toilet Tech is in use all across the nation, at parks in the US and parks in Canada. So, I mean, they do have experience with this, and they do understand the maintenance and requirements, because for many of these parks, the maintenance is done by volunteers. So they do have quite a bit of experience with this toilet system.
Asked and answered. Thank you very much. Back to you, Councillor Cunliffe. Sorry, a lot of information in between my ask of you. So splitting the two, one being the toilet system.
Yes.
I'm going to ask, are you generally in favor of that?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Any other comments you'd like to make specific to the toilet system?
Just so Vancouver Coastal agrees that 200 meters is far enough away from.
Works manager.
Yes, that's correct. I've been talking to the drinking water protection officer. He's been apprised of this for about a month and has been researching and discussing with inland drinking water protection officers and inland health agencies as well, where some of these have been installed. So he's comfortable and he's supportive.
If you could go back about 3 sentences, you muted out.
Sorry. So the drinking water protection officer has been in contact with colleagues in interior health and other areas, and he's comfortable with the 200 meters.
Okay, thank you, Nye.
Thank you. Any other questions, Councillor?
No.
No. We'll go virtual. Councillor Barmayer, do you have a question? Then we'll go to Councillor Bain.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, I would just want to make sure it's sized appropriately. So if there's some confusion about the numbers and the usage, that we get that part right. Sounds like that's been addressed by staff. You know, it speaks to a number of issues that we've got in terms of watershed protection. I think it's a good step. It's a step in the right direction. And I like the idea of part C, which is, you know, continuing to work on education and letting hikers know what it means to be responsible in a watershed. I appreciate that part. Now, I was just curious about this $100 per month. Is that actually a realistic number? Is that a little high, a little low? And 100, you know, just want to get a feel that we're not committing to, you know, 8 hours or 10 hours or however much time it might take to go out there.
Yeah, so
deal with whatever comes up.
So essentially the unit is a very simple conveyor belt method. The conveyor collects the feces and drops them into a bin, into a shallow depression beneath the unit, and the urine is diverted away. That composts over time. So the only thing that needs to be done inside the unit is to replace the hand cleaning or hand sanitizing satchel in the hand sanitizing dispenser, to do a quick sweep and to wipe down the toilet seat.
Okay.
So that's about 15 minutes, 15-minute drive to and from, half-hour drive to and from. It's minimal.
Okay, thanks, Nye.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Nye, honestly, you grossly underestimated. The wear and tear and the tires are going to cost more than $100 a month. Just look at the porta potties and what they look like after a busy weekend. That place will look the same. You're not going to go up there for 15 minutes every 2 weeks. I can assure you, you're underestimating this. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. We need a realistic budget. There's no way it's costing that little. You haven't looked at all the incremental costs. This is going to cost way more than that. Not against it, but we need to get a realistic budget.
So basically the costs were based on what the BC Mountain Federation has told us, based on their experience of outhouses. If
outhouses in remote areas with serious
any sort of repairs or functionality issues will be dealt with by BC Mountain Federation. All we'll be doing is a sweep out and a change out of the satchel and a wipe down of the toilet seat.
People are going to treat it like
the
a
toilets-
party. It's going to be all sorts of stuff's going to be thrown into it. You know this is going to happen. Anyway, I'll move on, but it's not $100 a month. I'll stop talking.
Councillor Abbott, we're going to close the session with you. Back to Councillor Barmere. Did you get your all the information you wanted, Councillor Barmere?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to make sure we're you know, to both Nye and Neville's point, just that we get actual maintenance right. We have to observe it for a few months until we actually know what that's going to involve.
Okay.
And how responsible users will be.
Thank you very much. So just again, as with Councillor Cunliffe, you are generally in agreement with implementation of the toilet. Yes. Councillor Barmere?
Oh, sorry. Yes, I was muted. Pardon me.
Thank you. That's a yes. Thank you. Councillor Bain. I think you've heard a lot. I know there's some conjecture on some of the data, some opinions on a variety of things, but splitting the two pieces, are you in favor of moving forward with the outhouse?
I am cautiously enthusiastic in as much as anything's got to be better than what we're doing now. But again, with my concern about the watershed and stuff, I feel comforted if maybe once a year there's some soil sample downhill from it, just to make sure the stats that we've been given are actually accurate.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And so that's going to go in the right direction. So just not everybody's read all the reports. So to Public Works Manager, in a perfect world, when would work commence on this?
So the BCMF has indicated that they're planning to do this in the summer of 2023.
Okay. So, okay, got it then. So, and what would the time to completion be?
I'm not sure.
Estimated?
No idea, sorry.
Okay, so it's going to be in process summer 2023. Okay. So thank you very much. So I am also in favor of this. So Councillor Abbott, I'd like you to craft something that's in a resolution format. The request is that we give direction to staff. So splitting the two pieces, I think it would be along the lines of the recommended resolution is that council, I presume you're going to put this forward, is in support of the project, however you wish to phrase it, and stop there. I think cost is yet to be finalized, but it's going to become part of the budget issue, I'm going to guess. And I think trail system is a whole different ball of wax as to what we're going to commit to that. So if you're fine with putting forward a recommendation, I'm sure we'll have a seconder for you.
Okay, sure. I'll put forward a resolution, a recommendation that the council supports staff to work with the Mountain Federation to install the UDC toilet. And that staff bring to the next council meeting a realistic budget of the cost of maintenance.
If I may, not to quiz, but in that this is a 2023, I think we're all in agreement that the toilet will go ahead. I think that the budget system comes up in the start of the 2023, which is 6 months before the work begins. Perhaps you'd be comfortable with staff putting forward a budget for given the comments that you've made, that be part of the 2023 budget discussion. Would that work for you?
Yeah.
So if we were to amend municipal coordinator, could you read back Councillor Abbott's recommendation, deleting the part about the budget?
The council is in support of staff working with the Mountain Federation to install the UDT toilet system, the BC Mountain Federation.
Sure.
Are you fine with that, Councillor Abbott?
Yeah.
Councillor Bain, would you second that?
I will.
Thank you very much. Any further questions? There being none, call a motion. All those in favor, please confirm by saying yes.
Yes.
Carried. Thank you. And then Councillor Abbott, back to this. I think you brought up the whole question about our trail system, and let's just call it in a universal format. This report is specific to this particular trail system. But I think the bigger question for this or the next council is what money we're going to put towards our trail system. Would you see that as something that we would want to discuss in our strategy session, or just let this go for now?
My comments about upgrading the trail system was specific to the mountain club's
Okay,
agenda, for lack of a better word. I didn't mean to use that directly, about expanding the trails and the trails up to the lands. I think that is a different discussion. It needs to be looked at from all sorts of views. We have all sorts of issues. It's not just about our water, the number of people are going up there. It's the additional fire risk. It's all these things that are
so many.
so many things that I think we saturated for hikers. We should not be encouraging more. And I think that's another discussion, and I would prefer that we didn't even try to do it tonight, to be honest.
Would it be fair? Thank you very much.
But in fairness to the Mountain Club, we should tell them when we're going ahead of the toilets that other discussion we'd like to have further input on.
Councillor Abbott, I agree with you entirely. I think it's a bigger discussion. I would like to see staff, subject to council's approval, that this is one of the items on the strategy session the first week of December for the new council. And the new council needs to be aware of what the situation is, because people are coming here, not less. Would you be fine with that, Councillor Abbott?
Sure.
Using that as a place mark?
Yeah.
There you go. Other councillors, Councillor Barmay, are you fine with that?
No, that makes sense.
Good. Councillor Bain, are you fine with that?
Yep.
Councillor Cunliffe? Good. So my recommendation to staff is that when the new council is in the strategy session the first week of December, which is traditionally the time, that the issue of our trail system costs, et cetera, and using this as an example, is brought up at that time, and there may be a budget piece to that as well. If council's fine with that, and I'll presume nods are okay, then we'll move on. Yes, good, thank you. Next piece is the CAO, excuse me. And this is regarding the LB Park Revitalization Project. And the recommendation is that the information report line of a beach park revitalization project update be received, and that staff will post the updated park design in the village update seeking public feedback. Councillor Cunliffe, will you put that forward?
Yes.
Councillor Barmay, will you second that?
Yes.
Thank you very much. CAO, if you could give us a quick skinny. And we also have a report here as well.
So as per the report, where we're at with this is further to council having awarded design considerations, moving forward with the contract for design of park features and facilities with BMG Landscape Architects. We've been working away at that for the past month or so. What you see in the report is the updated design work that they have pulled together. This is after several iterations, and as noted in the report, a focus on ensuring that we're able to do this in accordance with the budget that is part of the grant application for the grant award. So we have things like, for instance, use of the big toy play features that we have already. As you can see from the design on page 30 of the agenda, there's a new feature which provides for essentially a slide from one area down to the other area, and then working your way back up, kind of thing, from the swing area down below. Then the existing plant area that's there, just sort of minor modifications, keeping things simple through that sort of thick vegetation of existing plant area. There's the I'm just sort of sticking with the north side of the park at the moment. The rebuilt kayak and boat storage structure goes along the same location but expanded in terms of capacity of what it is currently. There's the rejuvenated jetty for launching of boats outside of the log boom from the swimming area. There is the reconstruction of the Lori Beck gazebo, and some ideas for that were put forward by the architect, going with the idea of the theme encompassed by Lions Bay's official flower, and trying to come up with a structure that somewhat mirrors that theme. Whether or not that can be built in accordance with our budget is something that we're still working on. The top play area, for which funds were raised by the public, is the ideas are there in terms of what is envisioned for that area to reflect the memory of Aaron Moore. And adjacent to that would be a covered picnic area overlooking the sloped lawn. It's just a photo, not necessarily what it would look like, but it would be a covered picnic area. Then you've got the new replacement washroom facility, and I'll come back to that in a minute. The multi-use paved court area would accommodate such things as sort of a half-court basketball, but also such things as bands and other live entertainment, art shows, etc., that for which the park can be used and is used each year. We've got the accessible walkway, accessibility being a key feature of the grant funding. So that's included there. And that's sort of it in a nutshell. With respect to the washroom facility, we've been going through a variety of ideas in terms of the prefab structures that are available. And so what you see on page 31 is basically two prefab units tied to each other. The bottom one has the washroom facilities. So you've got two toilets for the ladies and a urinal for the men's side. And on the back side, you've got storage areas for tables, chairs, things that are used regularly in the park by community groups. Having a storage area of this size also provides an option to have roll-up doors on the back facing the grass area. And, we could have like a partition wall down the center, for example, have storage on one side and use the other side for potential events in the park. You could have like art pop-up events, things like that. So it has some flexibility for use and addresses what the existing needs are. The second option is similar to that, but it includes an extra washroom, generic washroom, and that would depend entirely upon the analysis that's currently being done with respect to capacity of the septic field. Once we have that answer, it may be that that's just not possible. But that would be another option in terms of, or potential option in terms of using some of that space for an additional washroom if we can. There's some color swatches and finishes that are included. I'll note that the barnwood exterior and the cedar shake roof material is what comes with the unit. Other ones are an upgrade or additional cost. So we're still working on capacities and what's possible for the washroom, and also working on costs. There's installation costs and crane costs and so forth that we're also trying to nail down, and checking that against other options from other suppliers is where we're at the moment. So we're hoping to bring back much better, more complete picture with respect to the washroom facility in particular to the next meeting, and in terms of capacity and in terms of cost associated with it. But I think in the interim, though, in advance of the October 4th meeting, the idea was to get some public feedback on the design that you see on page 30, so that we have a better understanding as to the public's thoughts on where we're at with the design. It's a little bit different from what was previously scoped out, but I think it's got some good aspects to it, and it's also, you know, as I said previously, we're trying to keep the budget front and center on how we go about this.
Thank you very much, CEO DeJong. We'll go from where I'm sitting. We'll go virtually first. Councillor Bain, the motion is already in play. Do you have any questions for the CIO or any comments in general?
Just a curiosity, it's a minor point. I'm looking at the washroom drawing, and it says there's a 200 amp service panel. It's certainly not bringing 200 amp service to it. It just seems somewhat overkill, and is that going to cost us more money than we need to?
I'll let the public works manager weigh in.
So what we're proposing is a bank of GFI outlets on the back side of the building for bands, etc. So yeah, I mean, that's the recommended power for this facility. Again, as the CEO said, we are basically at the costing stage. So we will begin eliminating items that don't fall within our budget. And that could be one of them.
Oh, thanks. I forgot about the musicians and stuff that plug in now and then, but that does make sense after all.
Yeah, it's not just the musicians, it's also things like firefighters putting in the bouncy castle, so the compressed air for that castle and the motor to run it, etc.
Good, thanks.
Thank you very much. Does that answer all your questions, Councillor Bain?
Yep.
Thank you very much. Councillor Barmer, do you have any question? I know you're keen on the bouncy castle.
I just think it's such a beautiful, potentially very beautiful project, and a potentially very promising upgrade and a community asset. I think it's an exciting project, and I think putting it out into the View article and for public feedback is a great thing to do. Thanks for bringing that forward, Peter, and thanks for the nice images.
Thank you very much, Councillor Barmer. Councillor Cunliffe.
Yeah, I'll echo what Councillor Barmeyer said. It's going to be exciting to have everything shined up a little bit. And now we have more young families that have moved into the village. And I think it'll be a definite upgrade that's much needed. The washroom facility especially, that has become a scene of horror over the last couple summers. So and accessibility is wonderful as well. I didn't actually consider the fact how inaccessible that public space truly is for people that need it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cunliffe. Any other questions for staff?
Just when we put it out in the VU, is there, we're gonna look for email feedback from people? Is there some other way we could engage doing a mail drop for those that maybe won't see it? Just to get it into the eyes of as many residents as we can.
We could probably create a document that we could have at the office and at the post box area. Maybe whether or not we could put it in our holder where the village update normally goes. We could probably put a bunch in there.
We have a second holder. Is that
Just for people to grab while they're there, not necessarily have to do a mail drop.
The store might be willing to have some on the counter as well.
Yeah, that would be great.
So the request is that if you could pursue those three options short of a mail drop.
Yes.
Good. Thank you very much. Thank you. Very good suggestion, Councillor Abbott.
thought Councillor Cunliffe, I hadn't thought about it, but I thought she was heading towards doing a mail drop. Is there a reason why we wouldn't?
I think it's just, I mean, if it's gonna cost us any extra money, if it's just as easy to put a thing at the, just grab while you're at the post office box. What is the cost to do a mail drop per?
Well, if it's not addressed and stamped, probably 40% of the people won't get it, for one thing.
No, but it's an official council, sorry, official municipal outreach. You can put in all mailboxes.
Would be about $100. Yeah, as a municipality, they will put it in all the boxes.
Sorry.
It goes in all the boxes, as long as it comes from the village.
Right. I'm just thinking of the timeline here. We've only got a week and a half till the next agenda gets put together. And if people are going to go to their post box to receive a piece of paper, why not have it front and center on the wall and they just grab it?
And many people see it, that's all.
As well as having it in the store. I think that's probably doable.
There's also the time it takes to fold and prepare the mail for a mail drop.
That's true. We're pretty slammed.
Okay.
Well, it's not gonna be the last.
I kind of where Councillor Cunliffe's going, this isn't the, I mean, we're looking for a general piece here. I mean, to have.
If we get something more official, once we've made a decision on the bathrooms, once we have more by budget, then that seems like something that'd be worthwhile to put in to a mail drop.
And if we don't like the feedback, we're not gonna go. We're gonna have to do it again.
Yeah.
I mean, if the volume is low, we're gonna do it again. I would suggest we would do it again. Councillor Abbott.
Yeah, I'm kind of stuck on this point. I'm pleased we're getting some more public input into this. Absolutely, sort of want to see all along. I would think, you know, the rendering could go into the mailboxes the way it is. You know, the questions, we're just asking for input and comment. So I don't think we have to draft to have your say of any time and set up the questions and be able to. Anyway, so you know, we've done them pretty quickly before in the past, and you know, done some myself, as well as ones that the office staff have helped with. I think we should try to do it. I think the more input, the better.
Okay, so Councillor Abbott, let's go right to the staff then. Can we do it or not? CAO.
Well, we've done it that quickly before. We've had it printed, so that'd be a few $100s and folded. So that'd be about, last time it was about $5 and then the mailing would be 100. We'd have to outsource it.
You know, for a $1 million+ project, I think we can go for this.
So we got to get this right.
I think we can go to $600. So back to the timing here, which is Councillor Abbott's point, which is my question to staff. I'd much rather, even if it didn't come for the 4th.
So if we're just talking the design of the park and a call to action, feedback at lionsbay.ca.
Well, you have the bullet list of all the things we're putting in there, right?
Okay, it's an eye drawer to the next place. Yeah.
Yeah, my only caution to everybody is that this whole project hasn't been costed out fully. So you're asking for feedback when some of these items might disappear because of budget. So, and that's why we're proposing to come back to the August meeting. So generally, you know, some feedback about the concept is great.
I think the feedback might help guide that decision. You might get from the feedback which budget items you want to drop when you're faced with that decision.
Fair enough.
No, well, that could actually go the other way, right? That could also be an ask for a whole bunch of new placeholders.
Everybody wants everything.
Everybody wants everything, and why don't we have a pool? I mean, it could go the other way.
I think this is going to be easy. Sorry, no, I'll cut you off. I don't mean to. Peter described as this is a budget constrained project. This is what we have in it. I think people get the message.
If I could draw us back to the point on the mail drop, no mail drop. And only staff can tell us the time it would take. I mean, the information is ultimately the information, whether it's here in the 4th is not, to me, it's not that important. It'd be nice to have, but maybe there's more coming in. I don't know, but I think to Councillor Abbott's point and Councillor Kunlos, the more the better. And so I don't know what the timing could be, or
We could
I mean,
print it out 11 by 17 in the office, couldn't we?
No, we have to vote. We don't have time. We're just slammed with the election. We have no stuff.
Yeah.
We'd have to send it out to a printer, have it sent back, and then they'd have to fold it.
that sounds
It is
like
doable.
it sounds like a week to me. I mean, today's Tuesday, marching orders out tomorrow, 2 days back from the printer, suddenly we're at Friday. Staff is doing many things, their day job, the election, and now this. So council's asking the CAO, can it be done this week or no? In your view?
Well, we can ship it off to a printer. And when it comes back, it comes back.
Well, there's no decision being made on the fourth.
Yeah.
So we're not signing contract, we're not doing anything further on the fourth other than, getting more information in, and the next council is going to be sitting by the time we do anything with it.
And if they're rolling in, I'd be fine without the information. It is what it is. So I think the piece I'd rather have more than less, for me personally. So I think if I've got the general view, I think appreciating the work that staff has to do doing their regular job, the election, the all candidates meeting, and this on top. So I think if I'm echoing council, it's best efforts to get this out to the mailboxes as quickly as possible. The feedback comes when it comes back. There is no pressure on staff to do anything more than, depending on what is available, as a preliminary piece for the fourth, but nothing concrete. If that's fine, I think that reflects council view. Going yes with that, nods all around. Thank you.
I had one other.
Sorry, yes.
It is a yes, but I have one other comment and observation. Right at the end, Peter, you mentioned something about, looking at other potential options for solutions. I think you meant the washroom. I personally don't know of other companies, but I'm guessing there are other modular solutions out there. That this might not be the only one. I think it would be good to get that happening sooner rather than later, that we don't go too far down the path on this precast thing. And in the last minute, when you look at these other options, I think we can get those going in parallel if they haven't started already. I'm sure there's steel modular options and various other things that may or may not be competitive.
Yeah, together with CORE, we're exploring what, to assess what we're looking at and costs against what other options might look like. So that's hopefully we'll have much better information by the time we get back to the.
So we're not holding off to do a final design before we.
Yeah,
do that's good. Okay.
The thing that's sort of weighing on this in terms of timelines as well is that, on these kinds of prefab structures, you're looking at a 6 to 7 month window to have it constructed and then shipped and installed. So, it's if we, our timeline was to try and get this in May 24th kind of idea. And worst case scenario before July 1st. So we're up against those kinds of timelines when we're trying to advance the decision-making process and make sure that we're coming up with a product that's going to meet residents' expectations and still remain within our budget.
I like the residents, we got to get it right.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
So I think we're all in agreement. We've given the direction on staff on this. I didn't weigh in, but the key piece of the resolution was that if we received, we've given some guidance, and there will be a report and the village update seeking feedback on the revitalization. I would also like to see, this is my personal view, since we're talking about the projects at hand, and there may be just a minor update, and it doesn't have to be paragraph after paragraph. But I'd also like to see in the village update where we are with the building retrofit, if staff could devote a bit of time to that, and where we are with the Lions Bay Connector project, and where we are with the Bayview Drift project too. And going backwards to forwards, I know that our project has been in, and we're going to expect where we are just a little bit so the community knows the connector. Even though I personally have published this, what connector is all about, and it's been in the village update before. Let's refresh the public again. And also on the class building where we are with that too. And not to look like this is a disclosure agreement for a public offering. If we could cover off just for easy access to the public, what management the projects are in place, that is who, what it costs, and where we are with these.
So that's for the next meeting.
I think I'd like to see that in the village update.
I don't think that's going to be possible. Some of those things would be coming back in respect of budgetary things. Yeah, I don't know where, we don't have the plans yet for the connector, so to bring forward for public consultation. So I don't expect to have
past the beach park?
things.
No, it's all part of the same reporting out.
Okay, now have we moved past the beach park?
Yeah, I think just for the village update this week, what we're looking at is getting out the information with respect to the beach park and and request for feedback on that. These other things, I can tell you for sure. I can bring it back to the next meeting on October 4th, but I can't bring it to a village update piece. I don't know that that's the.
Okay, thank you very much, John, and where we are.
Sorry, Peter, on the beach park thing, I think there's I think all of us on council have heard a lot of resident opinions of beach parks. So could you share that village update with us, and we can provide some input what it's going to look like? Just by email?
Yeah, it'll be basically, it's just going to be the design that we just talked about. It'll be similar to what goes in the mail drop, right?
Yeah.
Design and requesting feedback. So on the village update, it'll be a link to the design requesting the feedback.
Yeah. Can we see it? Sure. Have a night.
Yeah.
And by tomorrow you missed it. Thank you.
So two things. One, Councillor Abbott's got the preview. It is going to go to the village update, and we're going to seek community input, and that'll take however long it does. And for the October 4th meeting, staff will cover going to be glib, but let's call it a paint by numbers outline of where we are with these other three projects. And that would be fine, CAO? Yes, good, thank you. So I will call a motion on the Beach Park Revitalization project. Recommendation that's already been in play. All those in favor, yes. Opposed, no.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much, everybody. Next is the Regional Public Works Mutual Aid Agreement. Get a glass of water before I read this. And the recommendation is that the Regional Public Works Mutual Agreement between the Mutual Aid Agreement between the Village of Lions Bay and the representative local government signatories attaches attachment 1 to Metro Vancouver letter to the Chief Administrative Officer dated for reference March 30th, 2022, known as the agreement, be approved. And item number 2, that the services covered in the agreement may be provided in an area outside the municipality in accordance with section 13 of the community charter. And item 3, that the mayor and corporate officer be authorized to execute the agreement. I'll put that forward. Councillor Barmer, will you second?
Yeah, second.
Thank you very much. Public Works Manager, can you give us the story? I know we've got the report.
So essentially what this is an agreement that enables us to rely or draw upon other municipalities in times of crises, whether that's a large-scale natural disaster or a smaller scale event. We've drawn on other municipalities in the past since I've been here. For example, we've reached out to Abbotsford at a time where salt supplies were dipping, and Abbotsford has provided us with salt. We have piggybacked onto the agenda or the paving contract with West Van. So these are types of things that would be furthered by this agreement, which we could draw upon, not just for large scale crises, but also for smaller scale crises. it's basically full compensation for wages, supplies, and equipment both ways. So if our staff are requested, we first of all need to meet the requirements of our own community first. If we're able to offer this support, we would be compensated fully for that. Likewise, if we were to draw on support from any of the other lower mainland municipalities, we would be required to compensate them for their equipment, staff, etc.
Thank you very much. Councillors, any questions for the Public Works Manager? Councillor Abbott?
I have one. I'm a little concerned, and I'm assuming it's already been discussed with the fire chief. I'm a little concerned on what it means when you respond to one of the electoral area A communities that are really nearby to us. So, I mean, a major emergency for them would be a house fire. And I know we've just, because to them, that could be a significant emergency. I know there's been discussion about, whether we would cover them as part of our fire program, and that hasn't been resolved or agreed. But with this mutual aid, doesn't that mean once we've signed the mutual aid agreement with electoral area A, we effectively now have to respond to a fire?
This is yeah, sorry, go ahead.
It's just Public Works. It's not fire at all. The mutual aid for fire throughout Metro, we're not. We are a signatory on that, but Metro itself is not a signatory on that. In terms of mutual aid for fire, other Metro communities, they have similar kinds of provisions in it. But with respect to electoral area A communities down the highway, they don't have fire departments, so it would not be a mutual aid type of agreement. It would be a provision of service agreement. And we have had various talks about that. It's been a little while since we come back to that. There's still a bit of things that need to be clarified and sorted out in respect of those three communities and their status and ability to enter into an agreement with us. So, but that's a different matter.
I misunderstood that. So this is only what services that Public Works can provide.
Yeah,
that's correct. Yeah.
During the pandemic, we also entered into a similar agreement to this with Squamish, Whistler, and Pemberton up the corridor. So we're sort of covered both directions in terms of spreading our risk. I would suggest that in terms of a major region-wide crisis, we're probably not going to be able to get much in the way of assistance from other communities who are similarly affected, because they'll be concentrating on their own situation. So it's probably more to do with more minor crises that affect ourselves or a couple of communities, perhaps, in being able to rely on others throughout the region.
Thank you very much. Councillor Abbott, good?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bain and Councillor Barmere?
Yeah, I had the same concern as Councillor Abbott did. But what got me on it to wonder this, that I look on page 42 of 138, and it references to fire and explosions. So I thought, it seemed to me, the way this is written, that a fire department response was possible, but I'm relieved to hear it is not, because there's absolutely no way we want to send our firefighters in to a community that has inadequate water supplies. It's just too dangerous because their hands are tied. So anyhow, just a comment.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bain. Both in yours and my first term in office, there was an event where Alliance Bay Fire and Rescue did go off our boundary into electoral area A. And my understanding of that council was that that was not going to happen again.
Not without an agreement.
Not without an agreement. Thank you, Councillor Barmere.
Yeah, my apologies, Naya, if I misunderstood. I thought the paving agreement with West Van was separate from this. You know, maybe I'm getting my wires crossed, but I thought we had a sort of that's kind of procurement agreement with West Van on some elements. Can you clarify how the paving falls under a mutual aid agreement?
Yeah, you're quite right. The paving is part of an effort with West Van purchasing to incorporate Lions Bay into their purchasing agreement. So yeah, you're correct. This would be more along the lines of the Abbotsford, for example, if we required salt during a winter, or if one of our trucks went down and they had a spare truck that they could loan us, that sort of thing.
Thanks, Nye. Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kellogg, any questions?
No. Certainly straightforward.
Any questions for staff before I call a motion? I see none. Call a motion. All those in favor, as to the recommendation, please confirm by saying yes. Opposed, no.
Yes.
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 And to those on virtual?
Yep.
Thank you. Carried. Thank you very much. Next item is the Truth and Reconciliation Day, which is September 30th. And the recommendation is that the Village of Lions Bay recognize September 30th as the day of commemoration to mark Truth and Reconciliation Day. Item 2, that the municipality use this opportunity to consider what each of us can do as individuals to advance reconciliation with Indigenous peoples and to recommit to understanding the truth of our shared history, to accept and learn from it, and in so doing, help to create a better, more inclusive community. Item 3, that staff post supportive communications on the website and provide links to relevant documents. And item 4, that the day be treated as a staff holiday this year and the village office closed and all staff provided with a day off for pay with notice to the union. Councillor Cunliffe, will you put that forward?
I will put that forward.
Councillor Barmeyer, will you second?
I'll second.
Thank you. CAO, it's pretty straightforward. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, just for clarity, we're only talking about this year again, until such time as the province decides to do something permanent.
Thank you very much. Any other questions for the CAO or staff in general? There being,
thank you.
Oh, Councillor Bain, see your hand.
Just one request. Could we not have any more staff holidays in the month of September?
Staff agree.
Apparently Councillor Bain staff's in agreement with that.
I can't speak for all staff, but.
Oh, well, I think we can go all staff.
Well,
There we go.
I think we're all going to be relieved when the province or the Fed step up and start making rules for all and not stop asking us to make these silly rules.
There we go. It's been a good bad month for holidays. Okay, call a motion. All those in favor, please confirm by saying yes. Opposed, no.
Yes.
Yes.
Good, carried. Thanks. Next piece is the reports. Mayor, other than for me, Remembrance Day is on my plate. Everybody's reached out to me. So there's more work to be done on that. Hopefully we'll give you a bit more next council meeting. Next piece, councillors, anything? I'm not seeing any hands.
No, sorry, just quickly, the Climate Action Committee is furnishing a term end report, and we hope to have that ready for the October 4th council meeting.
Thank you very much to Councillor Barmeyer and Councillor Cunliffe for that. And that covers the committees on emergency services. The RCMP monthly report is here. And the motion is that the report for July and August be received. I'll put that forward. Councillor Abbott, will you second?
I'll second.
Any questions? None. Call a motion. All those in favor, please confirm by saying yes. Opposed, no.
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Next one, item number 11A, and this is the appointment of the Chief Election Officer. And the recommendation of the motion is that Linda Brick, Municipal Coordinator, be appointed as Chief Election Officer for the Village of Lions Bay. Councillor Bain, will you put that forward?
I will.
Councillor Barmeyer, will you second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. I don't think there's much to say on this one, unless anybody's got any questions for the soon-to-be Chief Election Officer.
No, just thank you.
Thank you. There being none. Actually, just on this one, my understanding, Municipal Coordinator, that you have been either the Chief Election Officer or a colleague in the election officer team for other municipalities. Could you give us a bit about that?
I have served as Deputy Corporate or Deputy Chief Election Officer for the District of North Vancouver for several elections in the past.
There we go. Thank you very much. Call the motion. All those in favor, please confirm by saying yes. Opposed, no.
Yes.
Yes, and thank you very much. Municipal Coordinator. Bylaws 9, correspondence. Councillor Cunliffe, almost the last one.
Yes. Okay.
You could do this, and again, I would suggest that you do as I have done in the past, that on the exterior non-Lions Bay correspondence, if you would just mark it as received, or ask anybody to pull anything out to move us along a little faster.
Yeah, essentially it is all to be received. There was a couple that had dates that were attached to them that have expired. There was the one note from the Patrick Wheeler, page 27, about the youth. Just let me double check that again to see if we've surpassed that date. Yeah, that one as well. So that would have been a good one had we had it earlier to put in the VU for our local youth. But so essentially, yes, all to be received. And then we have correspondence from the Goach family. Am I saying that correctly? Just in discussion about the washroom facilities, and so I don't know who would like to respond to this.
How about you respond to it?
I can do so, and we can ask for some more feedback once they see what we have proposed for the beach park.
Thank you very much for that offer. And so that would conclude that. And we're received with one return back to the resident. Thank you very much, Councillor Cunliffe, for the second to last one, and next one, hopefully equally short. There is no new business, and we're up to item 15, the public questions. Which were,
I think you forgot something.
Are you guys muted? Can't hear.
oh, thank you very much for that.
Unless you change them up.
Thank you. You know what? Councillor Abbott, only you can see that this is what my page looks like, so you can see why I missed it. Actually, we did miss something, and I apologize to everybody. And I think under staff reports and municipal coordinator, I apologize, but I'm not sure whether I mentioned it, but if I didn't mention it, I'm sure I could get staff, council's agreement to add to the staff report, which would be item number 5, so it's 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that would be legal action involving the village.
That would be to me, I presume.
So if council's fine with that, I don't think we need a resolution to go backwards, do we, municipal coordinator?
You can call it new business if you want.
Let's call it new business.
Yeah.
Thank you. Made it easy for us. So, CAO, one of the things that has come up is the issue of legal action involving the village, and perhaps you could give us that as a piece of new business.
Sure. There's one action against the village at this time regarding a trip and fall incident, which our insurers are in the process of defending. And other than that, we're not involved in any legal actions.
Thank you very much. Which now brings us to public questions and comments. And we have some folks in the gallery. If you'd like to come forward, please put your hand up. And Ms. Ledger, again, you don't have, and then followed by Ms. Nelson. So again, you don't have to put your video on, but just unmute. And Ms. Ledger, you're ready to go.
Okay, I'm not putting my video on because I'm just on cell, so I'm trying to just hopefully I'm coming through loud and clear. My question is regarding the porta potties on the hiking trail, the Tunnel Bluff, 1,000 hikers, I think you discussed earlier. My question is just to mayor and council and also to works department. I find it really hard to believe that works department is going to take this on since they don't actually clean our current facilities. It's outsourced to third-party vendors to come in and clean the village hall, the Lions Bay Beach Park toilets, and they're a mess. So I really would really encourage mayor and council to dig in deeply into the numbers, because you've just increased our tax line item for Lions Bears in taking this on, and not looking for seeking a memorandum of understanding with Parks Canada because it's on Crown land, or TransLink because it's part of the lungs and the nature and the recreational Lions Bay trails provide parks and recreation to Vancouverites. So this would be a really great use of funds, for example, in my opinion, for the TransLink money coming. Really dig deep before you start adding line items to our upcoming budget. It's just not supportable. It's really, really, it's very concerning. So thank you for asking the questions and pushing back, Councillor Abbott, sincerely appreciated. And I really encourage the rest of you to dig in deep and really hold the line and try to move the needle back. It's your responsibility to be fiscally prudent, and you have a fiduciary duty to the villagers of Lions Bay. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ledger. And to be clear, Councillor Abbott was in favor of this. Thank you. And next up is Ms. Nelson, and then Ms. Jeffrey.
All right, thank you. So I want to get back to the beach park project. A couple of things here. The grant was awarded about a year ago, and there was a lot of delay in getting to this point. And now all of a sudden we're in a big rush. Now, one of the big things missing from that report, for those of us, even with a floor plan of the washrooms, etc., we don't know what it's going to look like. And I think the biggest concern in the village about the beach park, is it going to look like Lions Bay when it's done? Or is it going to look like West Vancouver? And it's a very high level of concern in the village about what our beach is going to look like. I'm not sure that rushing it out in the village update, we know that the village update doesn't get the response it should. The mail drop is really important, but what are you going to put in there?
We'll pause for a second. We'll regroup. Ms. Nelson.
Ron, there's no rendering. There's no actual idea of what the design is going to look like. There's a floor plan of some washrooms and there's some finishes.
Ms. Nelson, we lost your audio. So I think if I could get you to recap when you were talking about the design for the washroom, and then carry on forward, because you went, the sound stopped for about 15 seconds.
Sure. I guess this has got to do with the Wi-Fi. So my question is, what's the rush on putting this out, but what are we putting out? Because there is no rendering of what this washroom is going to look like. There's a floor plan. And there's no rendering of what anything's going to look like. We're being told that the Laurie Beck Pavilion, for instance, has to go. And there's a little sketch included in the agenda package. It doesn't really tell us much about what it's going to look like. And I think the level of concern in the village, obviously we want the new washrooms, but what's it going to look like? I mean, this is a very long-term decision. We're going to live with this beach park for many years. And this is our beach. And what's it going to look like? What are you putting out in this rushed village update?
Thank you very much for your comments. Ms. Jeffrey, you are next up.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well.
Okay, thank you. I guess this is just a general comment. I'm actually a little dismayed. I just want to have it on record that, number one, I've also been trained as an elections officer with Elections Canada. And it's my understanding, and I could be wrong, that the municipal office and the elections officer and everybody when it's done at a local level, everybody gets remunerated for their services. This is not, even though it might be on top, and this is a legislation and it's a default legislation, it is something that they do get money for and get paid for. So I would just like that to be on record. And so I say, find the time to serve the people that you're supposed to be serving. The other thing I am very dismayed about is that this is an election period. You as a council and mayor decided to meet every 3 weeks for a very long time. And suddenly there's an election and you're meeting every 2 weeks and you're having to push things through. And it feels like not an even playing field. And this has come up before, and several people have called the ministry we have called the BC elections. And I would ask the councillors and really search your hearts to really think that if what you're trying to push through during an election is to serve your own purpose or to serve Lions Bay. Because it feels like watching that every single one of you in that room are serving Lions, are not serving Lions Bay. You are serving yourselves and the upcoming election. You can slow down the wheel. You do not need to push these things through. You are serving Lions Bay. You are not serving yourself and your agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Shore and then Mr. Berry, if that's fine.
I've just got a comment and then a question. My comment is similar to what Penny Nelson and Karen Jeffrey have just talked about. I was wondering why there was such an aggressive stance on the recent plans for the beach washrooms for a number of reasons. And it suddenly became clear to me that this is really just another opportunity to put something in the village update. So my comment is just to remind you that there's already been some transgressions in that regard, that there's already been some repercussions, and people are going to be watching the way you word this to ensure that this isn't a campaign promotion rather than an update. There's too much information that we don't know. There's many things that still need to be decided, and it looks like this is a big beat myself on the chest to make it look good for the election. So that's my comment. My question is around the appointment of the project manager for these projects. I've asked this question before and I'm not getting an answer, so I'd like a detailed response as to why we have an outside project manager working on these, how much we're paying the project manager, how he was chosen or the firm was chosen, but also how that project manager determines who works on these projects. We used to have an open bid project or process through one of the BC government websites. We could see who was bidding. We could tell our friends they should bid, and that's all gone now. And I don't feel very comfortable about that whatsoever. So I'd like to understand why that decision was made, and I'd like to understand the repercussions of it.
Thank you very much for your question, Mr. Shore. And CAO, would you respond to Mr. Shore by the next meeting, please?
Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Berry. You are last on scope.
I'll just, once again, I'm going to repeat what others on this call have said. And this, it gives the total appearance of self-promotion during an election period. You're already under review by the BC electoral branch. So why would you step out and do something like this? We haven't had proper consultation. There hasn't been a town hall meeting on this park. We all want a park. Believe me, I've got 2 kids, young kids that thrive down there. But you know, for the last 6 years, we've been waiting for toilets. I've got residents and young children coming to my house to use our toilets. You don't have proper consultation. You need to have transparent and clear communication with the village. So you'll see that in my platform. And I urge you to look within yourselves and do the right thing. October 15th is the election. You don't need to put something self-promotional out there when you haven't done proper consultation. And you've heard it from a number of residents tonight. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much.
Give it proper consultation. Do the right thing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Berry. And that'll conclude the public questions and commentary. And I thank the gallery for attending this evening. And with that, I will put forward the motion to close the meeting. Councillor Fallon, for you second.
Second.
All those in favor, please confirm by saying yes. Opposed, no.
Yes.
Yes. And thank you and good evening, everybody.